I bet you're going to be down there skiing this weekend,
I'll
right?
probably go once or twice before the season's over. I'm sure they have a couple more weeks left, of course. But you know what day I might go, which is a special day this month?
Let me think. Let me think on it. Let me think. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. Is it in 10 days?
It is, yes. Because February has 29 days this year. So you might be wondering, any special weather trends on February 29th for Southern West Virginia?
Do they repeat?
Check it out. Every 4 years we make leaps and strides on February 29th. We all do because we use the Julian calendar. But are there any appreciable weather trends here in Southern West Virginia? Is it warm? Is it cold? Is it snowy? Let's go into the Weather Center and find out. All right, folks, what you can see here is our high and low temperature trends since Leap Day, dating back in the early 1950s. We had a stretch of some cooler weather back early in the 1950s and 60s, and then we jumped in the 70s, had a little dip here in the early 80s, and kind of been up and down with our temperatures since then. Now let's advance forward and let's look at the temperature departure from average. It was a bit chilly for Leap Day back in the late 50s and early 60s. Look at this nice spike that we had, 72 and 76. Then we dipped below, above, below, above, below. The latest trends show temperatures were slightly below average during Leap Day in 2020. So if you extrapolate this, it'll be a warm day. We'll be back above average for 2024. Now let's advance forward here and show you precipitation patterns for Leap Day. What we tend to see is very little in the way of precipitation. I mean, we're talking just a couple hundredths of an inch. The most was back in 1964 with 3/4 of an inch of precipitation, but the trend has been lower and lower amounts of rain. So chances are, if we have any rain, it's going to be very little. So most of the day should be dry. What about snowfall? Have we had a snowy Leap Day going back into the 1950s? Well, as you can see, back in the 1960s, we had 6 inches of snow, but a depth of 9 inches. That was the snowiest going back to 1952. But look at the trends. The trends with snowfall have been way down. So really, if we extrapolate this to 2024, chances are we won't have any snow on Leap Day this year. All right, folks, you might be wondering, how do we get Leap Day climate averages if we only have this day once every 4 years? What NOAA does is takes the average of the temperature and precipitation data for February 28th and March 1st. That average becomes the climatological average, high and low and average precipitation for the day. Now, all temperature and precipitation normals are a 30-year average. So right now, we are working on that 30-year average from the 1991 to 2020 data set. In 10 years, this will be updated and will include all years from the early part of the 2000s. So that is how we get our Leap Day climate averages. And of course, starting on February 22nd, we will have the Leap Day forecast and our 7-day outlook here at the Storm Watch 4 Weather Center. Chief Meteorologist Chad Merrill for Newswatch.